From the National Weather Service, this is Jonathan Blaze here with the routine weekly weather briefing for central North Carolina. We'll be discussing the weather and some hazards possibly impacted by or produced by the weather over the next week or so through October 10th. So just to get started, we still are well entrenched in the hurricane season. And we do have a couple systems out in the Atlantic, although the news here is generally quite positive. First, Hurricane Sam is still out in the Atlantic. It's been out there for a couple weeks, and it is likely to still impact the northern portions of the Atlantic. In fact, by this weekend, it'll be between Greenland and Iceland, almost near the 2/3 of the way to the North Pole. But it's going to be moving away, so its impact on us and the coastline in terms of rip currents and swells will be decreasing. Also, just in the past hour or so, Victor here has been downgraded, and the last advisory on Victor has been issued by the Hurricane Center. And also on the 5-day outlook here, you see a yellow area highlighted off the southeast coast. This system has just a 10% chance of development in the next 5 days or so. It really is not likely to become any kind of tropical system, name system, or anything like that. But it is part of a complicated weather scenario we have upcoming. I wouldn't get too excited or worried about that system. And in fact, looking at the longer term outlook, it looks like we may be in a bit of a lull here for the next couple weeks in the Atlantic before things would potentially try to ramp back up toward the end of the month. But at that point, we're starting to get late in the hurricane season. So fingers crossed, we've seen the end of the big impacts from the tropics. So back here closer to home, the upcoming weather pattern for this week is going to be quite complicated, to be honest with you. On the charts here, we show the surface weather map. What we don't have is a depiction of the upper levels. And what that means is that there's a portion of the atmosphere and the mechanism causing weather that isn't displayed here. But essentially, we're going to have an upper level low pressure system develop and linger across the eastern and southeastern portion of the continental United States, really through the end of the work week, if not into the beginning of the weekend. With those systems, which are pretty common this time of year, to be honest, they often are slow moving, they are difficult to forecast, and often cause a little bit of forecaster angst just because of their problematic nature. But for us, we'll have that system lurking nearby for the next many days. In addition, a front up in the mid-Atlantic is going to drop south by midweek or so, or late in the work week, installed near the coast as another storm surface low pressure area and frontal system to our west kind of approaches. So really a mishmash of weather features. And even if you look on the upcoming weekend panel here in the lower right, there's even a low pressure area noted along the coast. So a lot of features here. None of them are terribly easy to resolve or predict, but in general, what we'll have is an unsettled forecast really into this weekend. Don't expect widespread rain or every day to be a washout, but there will be a lot of rain in the forecast, but it will be scattered about, hit and miss, mainly of the shower variety and not so much of the thunderstorm or heavy rain kind of severe weather threat variety. But definitely unsettled. Looks like the best chance of rain in our area will be across the western portions of the Piedmont, Yadkin Valley, Triad, and even more so into the mountains and foothills. By perhaps Thursday and Friday, that focus area might shift a little bit more towards central and eastern North Carolina, so we'll all be impacted by that. But really, the best advice I have is don't cancel any plans right now. Stay tuned. The forecast is likely to change a lot. And to be honest, it may look more pessimistic right now than truly what you'll experience. Temperatures will be slightly above normal to near normal during the afternoon with highs, and overnight lows with the clouds and light southerly winds mostly. Lows will be above normal. And again, the forecast may look a little bit pessimistic, but there will be lots of breaks and dry periods, so don't despair. The precipitation forecast for the next 7 days shows this trend of today and Tuesday with the best chance and amounts of precipitation really across far western North Carolina just very light amounts here in most of the central part of the state. As we get into Wednesday and especially Thursday and Friday, the amounts tend to increase as we head into the foothills and Piedmont, lesser amounts right in the coastal plain, and then an enhanced area near the coast, and that goes into the weekend as well. And that's associated with what potentially could be a surface low out there and a stalled front. But if we take that all together and merge them into a 7-day total map here in the lower right portion, you'll see the greatest amounts are in the mountains and offshore, and central and especially eastern North Carolina is a bit in a minimum in terms of amounts there. Generally less than an inch, perhaps higher amounts an inch or more in the western Piedmont and mountains and foothills. Again, these amounts will be quite variable depending if you get hit by a shower or a heavier rain shower. So there won't be uniform and it won't be a widespread steady precipitation, quite variable as the week goes on. The excessive rainfall outlook for our area in central North Carolina is relatively limited. The greatest threat is out to the mountains, as we showed earlier with the precipitation chart. So no outlook, at least at this point, through midweek. And the severe weather potential, there's no severe weather outlook in terms of from the storm prediction center through midweek. But we are in the general thunder area, so we could still have a thunderstorm mixed in with most of the showers. The severe thunderstorm risk is quite limited, in other words. As we look beyond this week and into next week, on the left side of your screen, you'll see above normal temperatures are favored, even 60 to 70% chances, which are rather aggressive. So pretty high confidence that we'll be above normal in terms of temperature. And if we look at the precipitation chart on the right side, it's a little bit less clear, perhaps more typical or even chances of normal precipitation. So still that needs to get resolved. Some good news though is it's cooler and wetter out in the western United States where they've been dealing with wildfires for the summer. So a chance there for perhaps some improvement there and perhaps even some snows in some of the higher elevations out there. So the seasons are definitely changing. That's some good news there. So hitting the highlights here real quick. Unsettled and somewhat uncertain forecast this week. Still going to need some time to provide details on precipitation coverage and amounts. But the best chance in general through the middle of the week will be across the western areas out in the Triad, southern Piedmont, Charlotte, Hickory, Greensboro, that area, and more scattered and limited amounts further east, Raleigh, Rocky Mount, especially Fayetteville and Goldsboro. Again, rainfall amounts over the week will average maybe an inch or so, maybe a little bit more in the western Piedmont, a little bit less to the east, but there will be localized and highly variable amounts in localized communities. Generally expect showers, some spotty rain, although a few thunderstorms are possible, and the temperatures will be above normal throughout the period. The week won't be a washout, although the forecast may look threatening. So if you look at the bottom part of the screen, this is the pictogram forecast for Raleigh, and it looks very cloudy and rainy throughout the week. Your weather app on your phone is likely to look depressing as well, but there will be lots of breaks, so don't think it'll be a washout. And for those of you needing rain for your reseeding of fescue and whatnot, this is a better week than we had last week when there was very little rain, but maybe not the most ideal conditions either. Weather hazards look limited, but please check back with our forecast throughout the week as some details will likely become clear, and upper level low pressure areas often are problematic and can cause some surprises. So stay tuned. And also swells out of the coast from Hurricane Sam will weaken as that system finally pulls away, and the rip current risk is beginning to decrease at the beaches. So with that, I'll pause for any questions, but I hope everyone has a good week, and I hope everyone takes care. Thank you. All right. Everyone have a good day. Thanks for joining us.